So, okay. So here how the recursion is. Okay, right now, so we are talking about function. So we are talking about function recursion, right? So here recursion required three statements. One is initialization statement. Okay, one is called as initialization statement. And second one is called as a condition statement. And third one is a update. See how this recursion works just here. So recursion internally uses one data structure called a stack. Okay, recursion internally uses one data structure called a stack. See, there is an initialization statement, and there is a condition, and one more is a update statement. So initialization statement define the initial value of condition. So here condition is a Boolean expression which define how many times recursion has to be repeated. Then update statement which update the condition. But how this is executed, see here, how this function is executed, we'll just see how this function is executed. So this is your program. So see, whenever you call the function, so whenever you execute the program, your program is executed by invoking a executable statement. Now in this, how many executable statements are there? Only one executable statement. In this, how many executable statements are there? Only one executable statement. And what is that executable statement is? Main. Okay. So your program execution is done by calling which function? Main. See, whenever function is called, that function is pushed inside the, whenever function is called, that function is pushed inside the stack. Means whenever function is called, there is a memory allocated for that function. Whenever function is called, there is a memory allocated for that function. So here, which function is called main function? And this main function, which function is called? Main function is called. So there is a memory allocated for which function? Main function. And this main function, this is a flow of recursion here. How recursion is executed? Flow of recursion. How recursion is executed? Okay, so then main function is pushed inside the stack, and main function is calling which function here? Print number function. Main function is calling print number function by sending one value. So what is the value it is sent here? 4. So what will happen whenever function is called? The execution control switched from calling function to called function. So which one is a calling function? Main. And called function is what? Print number. So there is a memory. So there is a memory allocated for print number. So there is a memory allocated for print number. So memory is allocated for print number. Now this, what is the value it is sent to this function? 4. So what is the value of n here? 4. The value of n is what here? 4. So in this function, what is the value of n? 4. This is called as local variable. Then if n is greater than 0, so what is the value of n here? 4. Is it 4 is greater than 0? Yes. Condition is a true. Okay. So when the condition is a true, then what print number is doing? It is calling again which function? Same function. In this case, in this case, calling function and called function both are same. Calling function and called function both are same. So who called print number function? Print number function only. Who called print number function? Print number function only. So there is a memory allocated for which function again? Print number function. So whenever function is called, the control is switched from calling function to called function. Which one is the calling function? Print number. Which one is the called function? Print number. That is what. And recursion, calling function and called function both are same, right? So what will happen? What is the value of number inside this function? 3. What is the value of n inside this function? 3, right? 3. Then after that, 3 is greater than 0. Yes. 3 is greater than 0. Then again it will call which function? Print number function. So there is a memory allocated for print number function. So there is a memory allocated for print number function. So where the value of n is, what is the value of n here? 2. So print number. Now this print number function is called this print number function. So what is the value of n inside this function? 2. Is it 2 is greater than 0? Yes. Then again it will call the print number function. Again it will call the print number function. And inside this print number function, what is the value of n? 1. What is the value of n here? 1. Okay. Then 1 is greater than 0. Yes. Then again it will call the print number function. So print number function called print number function. Again print number function is called. In this function, what is the value of n here? 0. Is it 0 is greater than 0? No. Condition is what here? False. So is it recursion is stopped or not? Yes. Then what is the value of n? What is the value of n in this print number function? 0. What is the value of n in this function? 0, right? 0. So is it function execution is completed or not? Yes. Once the execution of function is completed, it will return from called function to which function? Calling function. Whenever function execution is completed, it returns from called function to calling function. Now, which one is the called function? Print number. Which one is the calling function? Print number. So execution of this print number function is completed or not? Yes. Then return to which function? Calling function. So the memory is what here? Deallocated. Then once it is returned to the calling function, in this function, what is the value of n? 1. So it will print what here? 1. So is it execution of this function is completed? Yes. Then it returned to which function here? Calling function. And in this function, what is the value of n? 2. Okay. Then after execution of this, it will return to which function? Calling function. And in this function, what is the value of n? 3. After execution of this, it will return to which function? Calling function. And what is the value of n this in this function called 4? After execution of this, it will return to which function? Calling function. And who's the calling function here? Main. Now after execution of this main, it returned to the next statement of the main. Is it the execution of your program is completed? Yes. So how it is printed? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. So evaluation of recursion is done. Evaluation of recursion is done using which data structure? Stack data structure. Evaluation of recursion is done using which data structure? Stack. And stack follows last in, Stack follows what? Last in, first out. So the function which is called last is executed first. A best example is, for example, see, this is internal mechanism of recursion here, but recursion required this three statements here. Okay, for example, the best example is I want to write a, yes, I want to write a program, write a recursive function. Okay, to find write a recursive function to find a factorial of input number. I want to write a recursive function. Okay, write a recursive function to find a factorial of input number. Okay. So now what is the name of the function here? Factorial. Now this factorial receive one number. Okay, this factorial receive one number. Then you should find the factorial of the number. So here I'm writing the condition if number is 0. Okay, what is the condition if number is 0? What is a factorial? 1. So 0 factorial is what? 1. Okay, else what you are doing? Number return number into. Okay, else you are saying return number into. Else return you are saying number into factorial. Return number into factorial. Number minus 1. Return number into factorial number minus 1. For example, 4 factorial means 4 into 3 factorial. Okay, 4 into 3 factorial. And 3 factorial means 4 into 3 into 2 factorial. Okay, and then 2 factorial means 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. Okay, so that you can say the factorial of which one? Number, right? Just see here. Now I try to input one number here. I try to input one number. So number equal to integer of and so enter any number, integer of, enter any number. So input enter any number. So the number what you input is a string. That string you are converting into which type here? Integer type. Whatever number you input, that is a string, and you are converting that into which type? Integer. Then I'm saying your result. Result equal to factorial. Okay, I try to input number. Okay. Then after that, I'm trying to display the factorial. So factorial of, okay, factorial of number is what here? Result. Factorial of number is, so this number you are replacing with this particular result. So factorial of number is what here? Result, right? So what is this here? So once you run this, enter any number. So number is 4 and factorial of 4 is what here? 24. Suppose if I enter number is 0 and 0 factorial is what? 1, right? But how this is executed? How this is executed? See the execution process here. How this recursion works here. Okay. So here, so what is the value I input here? The value which I input is a 4. What is the value of number here? 4. Now this is a stack. Okay, now this is a stack here. Execution stack. Okay. So whenever you call the function, I mean, your program execution always done by calling which one? Main. So first it will call which function here? Main function. And where I try to input the number. Assume that number is what here? 3. I want to find the factorial of which one? 3. Okay. So number is which variable? Local variable. Okay. So there is a memory allocated for which function? Main function. And within this main function, it will create one variable. And what is the name of the variable it is created? A number. Whose value is what here? 3. So after that you are saying result. Result equal to factorial. How you are finding the factorial of the number? You are finding the factorial of the number by calling which function? Factorial function. You are finding the factorial of a number by calling which function? Factorial function. So which function is called here? Factorial function is called. Which function is called? Factorial function is called by sending which value here? Number. So what is the value of number here? 3. So whenever function is called, there is a memory allocated for that function or not? Yes. So there is a memory allocated for which function? Factorial function. Okay. So factorial function. Now whenever function is called, that function is pushed inside what? Stack. Is nothing but allocate memory for that particular function. Okay. So what is the value of number? What is the value of number in this function? 3. What is the value of number? Now number is local variable or not? Yes. So what is the value of the value of number in factorial function? 3. Now is it 3 is equal to 0? No. Condition is what here? False. Then it will come to which place? Else. So else what you said? Return. Okay, return. So where it will return? To the calling function. Who called this factorial function? Main. Who called this factorial function? Main. So you are saying return. What is the value of number? 3. Okay, 3 into again you are saying factorial of what? 3 minus 1. 3 minus 1 means what? 2. 3 minus 1 means what here? 2. It means it will return 3 into a result of which one? Factorial of 2. Return to which one? Main. Okay, but return 3 into factorial of 2 means again you are calling which function? Again you are calling which function? Factorial function by sending number minus 1 means what is the value? 2. So there is a memory allocated for which function? Factorial. So who called this function factorial? Who called this factorial function again? Factorial only. So factorial function called again which function? Factorial. So calling function and called function both are what here? Same. So in this function, what is the value of number? 2. What is the value of number? 2. Is it 2 is equal to 0? No. Then it will come to else. What you write in else? Return. Return what? 2 into what is it again? Factorial of 1. 2 into factorial of 1. So again it is called which function? Factorial function by sending which value? 1. So there is a memory allocated for which function? Factorial. There is a memory allocated for which function? Factorial. And what is the value of number in this factorial? 1. The value of number is 1. Okay. Is it 1 is equal to 0? No. Then it will come to else. Okay. Else what you are writing? Return 1 into factorial of number minus 1 means what? 0. So it will call again which function? Factorial function. And what is the value of factorial in this function? 0. Okay. 0. What is the value of factorial in this function? 0. So number is what here? 0. Is it number 0? Is it 0 equal to 0? Yes. What it returns? 1. What it returns? 1. So where it will return 1? Calling function. Who called this factorial function? This factorial function. Who called this factorial function? This factorial function. So it will return this 1 to which factorial function? Below factorial function or not? Yes. Okay. So it will return 1. So what is the result of factorial of 0? What is the result of factorial of 0? 1. So 1 into 1 is returned to which function? Below function. So what is the factorial of 1? 1. Then return 2 into factorial of 1 is what? Return 2 into factorial 1 is what? 1. So return factorial of 2 is what now? 2 into 1. It becomes what here? 2. So 3 into 2, it becomes what here? 6. And that 6 is written into which one? Result. So factorial of 0 is what? 1. Okay, then factorial of 2 is what? 2. Then factorial of 3 is what? 3 into 2 is what? 6. And that value is written into which one? Result. So whenever function, see in recursion always calling function and called function both are same. So whenever function is called, the control is switched from calling function to, so the result of this is written to which function? Calling function. The result of this is written to which function? Calling function. The result of this is written to which function? Calling function. Who's the calling function here? Main, right? So this is how recursion works. I said, there are some complex things which you can do it in easy by using which one? Recursion. Okay, recursion. Internally, recursion uses one data structure, and what is that data structure is stack. Okay, now this is, so finding the factorial of a simple example, factorial of a number, but this is using which approach? Recursion approach. But recursion required this many number of statements like initialization, condition, and one more is what? Updation. If you don't write this, the recursion might move into infinite, or it will reach to what? Maximum depth. What is the maximum depth of the recursion? 1000. Now you can change the recursion depth by using which one? Set recursion depth of function of which module? Sys module. So there is a sys module is there. So using that sys module, you can define the depth of what here? Recursion. Okay. Yeah, this is how you write functions. This is how you write the functions in what here? Python. You should know how to write a function, but there is one more special function you will write in Python. And what is that function is? Lambda function. So there is one more function you'll write in Python. And what is that function is? Lambda function or lambda. So lambda functions or lambda expressions. Okay. So there is a lambda functions, or you can call this as a lambda what here? Expressions. Lambda functions or lambda expression. So lambda function or lambda expression here, right? So what is a lambda function is? Okay, generally lambdas. So lambda functions are, which functions it is? Anonymous functions. Lambda functions are what? Anonymous functions. Anonymous functions, you are saying it is anonymous functions. What is anonymous function is? A function which doesn't have any name. Okay, now the function which doesn't have any name, okay, that function is called as which function? Anonymous function, right? The function which doesn't have any name. Okay, so that one is called as an anonymous function. So a function A function which doesn't have any name is called a anonymous function. So generally you can call this lambda functions or function expressions. Okay, or you can call it as expression functions. Expression functions. It means it is a function which evaluate the expression and return the value. Okay, it is called as a function expressions. And not only that, you'll call lambda functions or single line functions. I mean, it is a function which contain how many statements? Only one statement, right? So lambda functions or single line or single statement functions. It means this functions doesn't have a multiple statements. Okay, this function doesn't have multiple statements. Generally, lambda functions are used with higher order functions. Lambda functions, lambda functions are used as which functions? Higher order functions. What is higher order function? A function which receives the input as what? Another function. A function which receives input as another function is called which function? Higher order function. It means you can define the lambda function as an argument. You can define the lambda function as an input argument. Okay. So lambda function can be defined as what? Argument. Argument or lambda function can be given as input to what? Another function or lambda function. Okay. Lambda function can be given as input to another function, can be given as input to what? Another function. Okay, that you can call it as a lambda expression or lambda functions here. These are called as expression functions. Okay, expression. Okay, expression means, for example, you write some c equal to what here? A plus b. Is it this is called as one expression or not? Yes. This is called as which expression? Arithmetic expression. In the same way, you can represent this expression as one function. And what is that function here? Lambda. You'll say lambda. Lambda is having any lambda. Lambda is a name of the keyword. Lambda is a name of the, generally you write a function using which keyword? Def. But lambda function is defined by using which keyword? Lambda. But is it this function is having any name? No. This function doesn't have any name. But this function will receive how many values? Two values and return which value? A plus b. Can you say this is one function expression or not? Yes. What is the name of this function? What is is it this function is having any name? No, this function doesn't have any name. But if the function doesn't have any name, then how you call it? How you call it? Is it possible to call it? No. Because of that, this expression is assigned to one variable. This expression is assigned to one variable. What is the name of this variable? Add. So add is a variable holding which expression here? Lambda expression. Now whenever I want to add, I just call the function add by sending how many values? Two values. So what is the value of A? 10. What is the value of B? 20. And then what it is returning? A plus B value. Right? So lambda functions, what is the syntax? Syntax of defining lambda function. How you write a lambda function? Okay, so it is written by using lambda keyword. Okay, it is written by using which keyword here? Lambda keyword. So it followed by arguments. You can write lambda function with arguments and then statements. Okay, how many statements? Will you write multiple statements or only one statement? Only one statement. You don't write multiple statement. And this is separated with what here? Colon. Okay, lambda function without any return statement. You cannot write a return statement within lambda because It is itself is what? Expression. It itself is what? Expression. It evaluate the expression and return the value. You don't require to write any statement called what? Return. You don't require to write any statement called return, because that itself is what? Expression. It evaluates and return the value. That itself is an expression. It evaluates and return the value. So how you are writing a lambda expression? You are writing a lambda expression by using which keyword here? Lambda keyword. Okay. So this is a keyword which is used for it. Okay. Yes. So lambda function is defined. Lambda function is defined with without arguments. You may write without arguments or with arguments. You can write without arguments or with arguments. Okay, na? So you can write without arguments or you can write with arguments. If you want to send any values to the lambda, you write a lambda expression with arguments. If you don't want to send any values to the lambda, then you write that function without arguments. So one is with arguments and one more is a without arguments, right? So this is how you are trying to do it here. So lambda function is defined without arguments and one more is a with arguments. Okay, right. Then how to write just to see here. So these are single line functions and these are used with higher order functions, means a function which receive the input as what? Another function. So the function which is used only one time are represented as what? Lambdas, right? For example, so I'm trying to write a lambda. I just write lambda. So lambda is a keyword for writing which one? Lambda expression. Is it this lambda is having any name? No. But is it with arguments or without arguments? Without arguments. Now here I'm just printing one message. Okay. So this is a lambda. Okay. Lambda without what here? Arguments. Okay. Lambda without arguments. Okay. So this is how you write a lambda. Is it this is one expression or one statement or not? Yes. But is it this function is called automatically? No. Function is never called automatically. Until unless you don't call the function, is it function is called or not called? Not called. So is it this lambda is executed or not executed? Not executed. But to call this function, to call this expression, is it this expression is having any name? No. Because of that, you assign this expression to one. You assign this expression to one variable. Okay. So what is the name of the lambda now? A. Okay. Then whenever I want to call the lambda, I just call with what? A. So A, and again I said A. Okay. Again I said what here? A. So how many times I call this lambda? 3 times. Now lambda without arguments, lambda without arguments, and lambda without arguments. How many statements are there here? Only one statement. Okay, now I can write a lambda. I can write a lambda with arguments. Okay, so I'm just writing a x comma y. So x comma y and print which value here? X value and y value. Now whenever I call the function b, I send how many values here? 2 values. So b with 100 comma 200, 300 comma 400, and 400 comma what is that? 500. So whenever I call the function, I send what here? Values. So 100 and 200, 300 and 400, and 400 and what? 500. So b is nothing but which function now? Lambda function. A is nothing but which function here? Lambda. But is it this or with arguments or without? Without. But this lambda is having how many arguments? 2 arguments. Lambda is used as a higher order function, means a function. Now this is one function, right? And this function performs the operation by receiving which one? Another function. Okay, this function performs the operation using which function here? Another function. Another function it uses. Which function it uses, that you represent it as one argument. For example, I try to call the function 1. I want function 1 should use one function as an input. Which function I'm sending as an input? Lambda. Can you write a function as an argument? Yes. Which function has an argument? Lambda function. Which function has an argument here? Lambda functions here. Which function I'm sending to the function 1? Lambda. Now lambda uses this function how many times? Only one time. Okay. But can I write a function here and send it? No, I cannot write a function as an argument and send it. But which function I can write an argument and send it? Lambda. Lambda function I can write as an argument and send to which one? Function 1. So I write a lambda and here I'll say, okay, this is lambda function, right? So which function I send here? Lambda functions here. Which function I send here? Lambda function. This is called as callback. So this function is performing the operation using which function? Another function. But this function, you are defining it as an argument or not? Yes. Okay, you can send any number of function. Now this is, assume that lambda 1. So function 1 performs the operation using which function? Lambda 1. Function 1, again I'm writing lambda and print, again I'm saying lambda, what is that here? 2. So this function 1 is receiving which function here? Lambda 1 and perform the operation. And this function 1 receive, what is that another function? Lambda 2 to perform the operation. Okay, so to make your function as what? Dynamic. So here lambda 1 and this is lambda 2. So I'm defining this function as what here? Argument, and sending to which one? Another function. But how many times this function is used by this function? Only one time. Means once the function execution is completed, is it this argument is deleted or not? Yes. Higher order functions, most of the times these are used for creating which functions? Higher order functions. Higher order. For example, I'll tell you. Suppose these are callback functions. Here callback means these functions call another function to perform operations. Okay, but what function? That is defined as one argument. Okay, now what function that is defined as one argument? For example, see, so there is a function. Okay, so I take a simple one. Now there is a function called which one? Calculator is it? So calculator is a function, and this function receive some two values. Calculator is a function and this function receive how many values? Two values. The first value is what? A, and second value is what here? B. So calculator function receive how many values here? Two values. First value is A and second value is B, comma. After receiving A and B, it should perform some calculations. After receiving A and B values, it should perform some calculations. But what calculations it has to be performed by the calculator? I will input that operation as one function. I'll input that operation as which one? One function. So there is three arguments out there. First one is A value, B value, and third one is what? Calculate. I'll tell the calculator, see, I'll tell the calculator, okay, do addition. Do addition means it should do what? Addition. I will tell the calculator do multiplication, then it should do which one? Multiplication. But within the calculator, there is no logic for what? Calculations. Within the calculator, there is no logic for what? Calculation. It just receive two values and do calculation. But what calculation? Is it addition or subtraction or multiplication? That is defined at runtime. That is defined at what? Runtime. I'm saying result. Result equal to calc A comma B. What is calc here? Lambda. What is calc here? Lambda. And this lambda function receive how many values? Two values, and then do the calculation. But what calculation? What calculation that is defined at what? A runtime. What calculation that is defined at what? A runtime. For example, so this is a function main. Suppose result 1 equal to calculator. I'm saying 10 comma 20. So what will happen? Calculator receive 10. Calculator receive what? 20. After receiving 10 and 20, I want my calculator should perform an operation called which one? Addition. My calculator should perform the operation called which one? Addition. Then what you do it? You send one function. Which function you are sending? Addition function. You are sending which function? Addition function. And this function receive how many values? Two values. And return which value? X plus y value. Now what will happen in this case? This calculator function is called by sending 10 and by sending what? 20, and it is also sent which function? Lambda function. Now calc is referring to which function now? Calc is referring to which function now? Lambda. So whenever I say calc, which function is called? Lambda is called by sending a value. What is the value of a? 10. What is the value of b? 20. And then returning which value? X plus y value into which one? A result. So what is the value written by this here? 30 is written into which one? Result 1. This calculator is a dynamic or not? Yes. Within the calculator, there is no logic for doing which operations? Calculations. Okay, whatever operation the calculator has to be done, that you are sending it as one, expression. And that expression is what here? Lambda. Okay, now. So here I'm saying result 2. Again, I said calculator, sum 5 comma 2 lambda. So I want my calculator should perform which operation here? Multiply. Which operation it should do? Multiply. Then what will happen? This calculator function is called by giving input the value of a, by giving input value of b, and then it is also give the input called which one? Lambda. So this calc is nothing but lambda or not? Yes. This lambda receive how many values? Two values. Now calc function is called, calc is nothing but lambda, and this lambda receive which value? A value and b value, and return which value? X into y. So if you want your function should be a dynamic, right? So the operation what it perform is not there within the calculator, but you are defining that operation during runtime. So a function which receives, most of the times I said no, lambdas are used when you are working with which functions? Higher order functions. Higher order functions means a function which receive the input as what? Another function, right? So result 1 is, I print result 1 here and format. Okay, result 2 is, I print the value of result 2, then called main, right? So once you run this, result 1 is 30 and result 2 is what here? 10. Result 1 is 30 and result 2 is a 10, right? Yes. So in Python, there are so many functions like which uses lambdas. Okay, which uses lambda functions for doing certain operations, like for example in Python, one predefined function is there. What is the name of that function is filter. Okay, one predefined function is there called which one? Filter. filter function is there. What filter will do is filter the data. Filter the data. Filter will filter the data, but filter function doesn't know how to filter the data. Filter function is there, but filter function job is what? Filtering. But filter function doesn't know how to filter. Then you have to give one function as an input. You should tell the filter function, okay, do filtration using this function. Do the filtration by using this function. It means inside the filter function, there is no logic for filtering. Okay, but I have to give the logic how to filter. That logic I'm giving it as another function. That logic is given as another function, right? So there is one function is there. What is the name of this function? Filter. But the job of filter is doing filtering data. Filtering data. Okay. But filter function doesn't know how to filter it. So it is a built-in function. A filter, and what it receive here? Function. And one more is which one? Iterable. Iterable is nothing but what here? Collection. What is iterable here? Collection. Okay. So filter and function comma iterable. So construction iterator from those elements of iterable for which function returns true. So construction iterator from those elements of iterable for which function returns what here? True. Iterable may be either a sequence, a container which supports what? Iteration, or an iterator. A function, if function is none, if you don't define the function, the identify function is assumed, that is all the elements of iterable that are false are removed. That are false are removed. Okay. Yes. So what is the job of this is filtering data based on some condition here. So filter. So this is syntax here. So this filter function returns so constructs an iterator from those elements. Construct an iterator from those elements of iterable for which function returns what? True. Constructs an iterator from those elements of iterable for which function returns true. Now iterable may be either a sequence, a container which supports which protocol? Iteration protocol. See here, constructs an iterator from those elements of iterable for which function returns what? True. It will return only the values. It will return only the values from iterable for which this function returns what? True. For which this function returns what? True. For example, see here. For example, there is a, yes. Okay, for example, there is a function, yeah. This is a main, and here there is one list is there. Okay, one list is there. So what is the name of this list here? List 1. There is one list is there, and name of the list is list 1. And this list is having some random values. So like this, some random values are there. Okay, like this, some values are there. Okay, some values are there like this. Okay, now from this list, I want to filter. From this list, I want to filter even numbers. From this list, I want to filter which numbers? Even numbers I want to filter. From this list, I want to filter even numbers. Okay. Then what I'm doing? I'm calling one function called filter. What function I called? Filter. Filter. Filter what you want to filter? What you want to filter from this list? Even numbers. Then filter doesn't know how to find even numbers. Filter doesn't know how to find which numbers, even numbers. Then I should tell the filter, use this function and find a even number or not. Then I write one function. Which function I'm writing? Lambda. This lambda receive one number. Okay, now this lambda receive one number, and after receiving number, it will find out number mod 2 double equal to 0. If number mod 2 equal to 0, then it returns what? True. So the element for which it returns true, that element is what? Returned. The element for which it is not written true, that element is not written. Comma, comma, what is this here? List 1. So what filter is doing internally? Filter is read each time one value. Okay, filter each time it is read one value from where? List 1 and send it to which function? Lambda. What is the first value in the lambda? So what is the first value in the list? 4. 4 is sent it to which one? Lambda. Now 4 mod 2, is it equal to 0 or not equal to 0? Equal to 0. Then what it returns? True. Then is it this element is returned or not? Yes. Then what is the next value in the list? 8. And 8 is sent to which function? Lambda. What is the value of number? 4. And 4 mod 2, is it equal to 0? Yes. Then what is the next one? 2. What is the value of number? 2. 2 mod 2 equal to 0? Yes. Then what is the next number? 12. 12 mod 2 equal to 0? Yes. Then what is the next number? 9. 9 mod 2 equal to 0? No. Will it that value is written or not written? Not written. So it return only the values for which this function returns true. But what filter returns? One iterator. And that iterator I am converting into which type? That iterator I am converting into which type? List type, and assign to one more variable called list 2. Now this is a list 1, and this is what here? List 2. So list 1 is the original list, and list 2 is a list which contain only which numbers? Even numbers. Here, this is having only which numbers? Even numbers are there. Okay. In the same way, list 3 is there. List 3 equal to list of filter lambda. I want to filter which numbers? Odd numbers. Number mod 2 is not equal to 0. And then again I said list 1. So if I say print list 3, what list 3 is having now? Odd numbers. Suppose I want to filter list 4. List 4 equal to list of filter. Okay, lambda. Okay, lambda number. I want to list all the numbers which are less than which one? 20. I want to filter all the numbers which are less than 20. Less than 20. Now list 4 contain only the numbers which are less than 20. Okay, these are the numbers which are less than 20, right? So you have a student marks are there. You want to filter only the marks, okay, which are less than which one? 40. Okay, now then what you can apply here? You can apply the function called which one? Filter. You can apply the function called which one? Filter. Okay. For example, I have a names list is there. For example, there is a names list which contains some names. Okay, Naresh, something like this. Okay, now these are the list of names. Now I want to filter the names whose name is end with H. I want to filter the names whose name is end with what here? H. I want to filter the names whose name is end with H. Then what will I do? I'll say list 5 equal to list of. What is the name of the function? Filter. This is a lambda. This lambda receive what? Name. And then it will find whether name is end with what? H. What will I write? Name of -1. -1 means last character or not? Yes. Okay. So name of -1 double equal to which one? H. So if it is equal to H, it will return what? True. Otherwise, it will return the false. If it is written true, then that name is written. If it is written false, that name is not written. Now this is which list? name list. So now list 5 contain only the names whose name is end with what? H. Like Naresh, Ramesh, and one more is a Suresh. Only one statement. Getting on. So filter. But how to filter? Filter doesn't know, right? Then how to filter? You need to input as one function. Your filter is using one function to filter this data. Filter is using one function to filter this data. If you don't send any function, then it will return only the values which return true. Okay, now, right? Just to try to understand this filter. This is one function where you use lambdas. This is one function where you use what? Lambda functions. Okay, lambda function use in this case, right? Okay, then next is there is one more function is there in Python which uses lambdas. While loop through here, one single statement is there, no? When single statement is there, why you want to use that? Okay, why you want to make it complex? It's a simple. Okay. So there is one more function is there you can do. There are so many approaches out there. You can use list comprehension, for loop, check the condition. If the condition is a true, then you can do it. That also you can do it, but that is done by which function here? Filter function, right? For example, there is one more function is there where you can apply lambda. What is that function is? Map. So there is one more function is there, predefined. See, I'm just telling you where this lambdas are used, where these lambdas are used. Okay, and I'm telling you this with some predefined functions provided by which one? Python. So there is a function called which one? Filter. Okay, there is a function called filter, and there is one more function called which one? Map. So map is nothing but applying. Mapping is nothing but what here? Applying. Mapping is nothing but what here? Applying. Okay. So mapping is nothing but what here? Applying. So what you are applying here? A function. Map is nothing but applying one function here. Suppose this is map. So this is a, so what is the syntax here? Map. What is the input for this function? Map function. Okay. What is the input for this map here? Function. And then it followed by what here? Iterables. So that can be either one iterable or more than one iterable. So return an iterator that applies. Return an iterator that apply function to every item of what? Iterable. It will apply this function to every item of which one? Iterable, and yielding the result. Means just return the result. If additional iterable argument are passed, function must take that many arguments and applied to the items from all iterables in parallel. Means if you are sending multiple iterables, then this function should have what? Multiple arguments. If function, if you are sending only one iterable, then this function should have how many arguments? One argument. If you are sending multiple iterables, then this function should have how many arguments? Those many number of arguments. With multiple iterables, the iterator stops when the shortest iterable is what? Exhausted. When suppose if one iterable is having, one collection is having 10 values, one collection is having 5 values, then it will stop at what? 5. It will not apply this function for 10. It will apply the function only to 5. When shortest iterable is what? Exhausted. So mapping is nothing but applying. Mapping is what here? Applying. What do you want to apply? Which function you want to apply to the collection of values? Which function you want to apply to the collection of values? Which function you want to apply to the collection of values? So that is done using mapping here. So written an iterator that applies function to every item of iterable, yielding the results. If additional iterable arguments are passed, function must take that many arguments and apply to the items from all iterables in what? Parallel. With multiple iterables, the iterator stops when the shortest iterable is what? Exhausted. When the shortest iterable is exhausted, right? So that is how you are writing with which function? Map. For example, see here. Suppose I have a two list order there. So there is a list 1 having 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, this is one list having how many elements? 5 elements are there. And there is one more list called list 2 having some 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Now what I want is, I want to add element of first list with the element of second list. And I want to return into another list. I want to add element of first list with the element of second list. Element of first list with the element of second list. Element of first list with element of second list. Element of first list with the element of second list. Then I want to return into another list. Okay, now here I should apply one function, right? Which function? Adding function. Which function I should apply? Add. But how you are applying this function? By using a function called which one? Map. Map. Which function you want to apply? Lambda. Okay, now this lambda is having how many arguments? 2 arguments, because you are sending how many iterables to the map? 2 iterables. Okay, so lambda a comma b, and then I'm saying a plus b, comma, I'm sending list 1 comma, what is that? List 2. So what the map will do? It will read one value from list 1, it will read one value from list 2 and send it to which function? Lambda. And lambda is returning what? A plus b value. So what is the first value in list 1? 1. What is the first value in list 2? 100. So value of A is 1, value of B is 100, and 1 plus 100 is what? 100. So I convert this result into which type? List type. So then I assign to one variable called which one? List 3. So I try to print list 1, print list 2, and print what is this now? List 3. Okay, list 3. So this is, once you run this, now you can see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 100, 200, 300, 4. Now 1 plus 100 is added and stored in this. And these values are, so but how you applied it? By using a function called which one? Map. So map is nothing but applying it. Which function you want to apply it? For example, names list is there. Again, names list is there. Now, there is some names. So all these are the names which are there in the list. All these are the names which are there in the list. I want to convert all these names into which case? Uppercase. I want to convert all these names into which case? Uppercase. Okay. Then how can I convert all these names into which case? Uppercase. Then I should apply one function. List of map. So lambda. Okay, lambda. Now this lambda receive one name. After receiving a name, then I'm saying name dot. Name dot which one? Upper. Now which function I apply on this name? Upper function and return it. Comma. Comma which list here? Names list. And this is assigned to another variable called a name list 1. So I try to print a names list. I try to print a names list and names list. What is this here? 1. So here I am applying which function to the names here? Upper function. So every time it will read the name and return that name in which case? Uppercase. Every time it will read one name and return that name in which case? Uppercase. So how I applied this? By writing one function here. What is this function now? Lambda. Okay, so I said, lambda functions are useful when you are working with the higher order functions. What is a higher order function? Is a function which takes the input as what? Another function. But that function you are writing it as one argument, and that you call it as okay, that function you are writing it as an argument, and that is called as which function here? Lambda function. Okay, right. So you can send any number of iterables, but when you send more than one iterable, yes, okay. When you send more than one iterable, this function should have those many number of arguments. Okay, right? So this is best examples for where these lambdas are used. There is one more function is there where you can apply the lambdas here. And what is the name of that function is? So there is a function called reduce. So what is the name of that function is? Reduce function is there. Map, filter and reduce. Okay. Reduce means reducing collection of values into one value. You reduce collection of values into what? One value. But how you want to reduce collection of values to one value? Okay, by applying one function. How you reduce collection of values into one value? So that is done by applying one function. So you represent that function as what? Lambda. Again, reduce. But actually this function reduce is there in one module called function tools. It is there in one module called, what is the name of this module? Function tools. And within this function tools module, there is a function called which one? Reduce. And this reduce function will take the input as one function, and it followed by which one? Iterable. Then it followed by which one? Initializer. So reduce function reduce a collection of values into how many values? Single value. Now you want to reduce a group of values into one value. How can you reduce the collection of values into one value by applying aggregate functions like sum, maximum, minimum, mean, median, mode. So all these functions you can apply to reduce the collection of values into how many values? One value. Because maximum return one value. Okay, add will return, sum will return one value. Average will return one value. You are reducing collection of values into one value by applying one function. But where this reduce function is there, this reduce function is there inside one module. And what is the name of that module? Function tools. Function tools is there. Now this is, it apply the function of two arguments. It apply the function of two arguments. Okay, apply function of two arguments cumulatively to the items of iterable from left to right, from left to right, so that reduce the iterable to how many values here? Single value. It will apply the function from left to right cumulatively so that it can reduce, to how many values here? Single value, right? But anyway, I'll tell you this, like how to work with this reduce. Maybe this will take some time. Now tomorrow I'll tell you how to work with the reduce, and even we'll start modules and packages. Okay, so how to write modules and packages, and after that we'll see object oriented programming, right? So today we'll stop it here, and tomorrow we'll continue this, right? So thank you. We'll see tomorrow. You can use a list as an array. Satvik, you can use a list as an array. If you want to work with only arrays, you learn in NumPy. You learn in NumPy. Only arrays means NumPy. If you want to do array problems, you can do with a list. If you want to learn only arrays, then you go for NumPy. In NumPy, you learn that. Okay, right.